Hey, I wore the Dylan McKay shirt today, and I really wanted to vlog in it, but I got spaghetti sauce on it, and I threw it in the wash. Okay, this is Caroline Relevant from October 6th, 2005. From my diary. Let's read it real quick. This is me soon to leave Kevin. Sorry. Leaving Kevin in Oakland and moving to Portland. And he was having, this is a few months after he was hospitalized, and he had like huge resentment at me for sending him to the hospital, even though he was like out of his mind. And then we first got to the hospital, he was really manic. He didn't take his meds, he smoked pot. And then he stopped smoking pot and he got extremely depressed, but still didn't take his meds. So it was like hell. And he was really emotionally manipulative and abusive toward me for leaving. And it was like I couldn't leave until November because I had to save up money. And I told him in like September. So he had all this time to work on me, and it was very painful for him. I mean, I had a lot of compassion for him because he's a complicated person, but he was pulling out the stops. Like, I can still recognize abusive behavior in here now, but anyway, okay, oh, this is me, obviously. Oh, this is a nightmare, really it is. Last night I screamed again, but it didn't last long. He was angry and saying, I don't need your pity, I don't need your friendship, as well as stuff about housework. He said I didn't put effort into the marriage, which is infuriating, to be told that, to be so totally misunderstood. He went on, I can't remember, but I felt like I was listening to him, but he said something untrue or something unfair about me, and more about housework and more about how I'm going to fail in Portland. But it was something about housework, and I screamed, I will never be what you want. It was just awful, the whole thing. Later, talked to Christopher. He helped me. We went through a lot of this. He also told me it's fucked up how Carol Ann wants me to go to Portland, but she wants me to feel guilty about it. I told her, I'm choosing myself over Kevin, and she said, that doesn't seem right. That's the tip of the iceberg of how she was at that time. And I think without Christopher, I would have committed suicide. Because, like, Paul, I would also talk to him on the phone or email, and he was, like, so moody. Sometimes he would be really warm and a good listener, and other times he'd be, like, flat affect, and other times he would actually be like, maybe you should stay with him if he's sick, and it was actually really tormenting, and I was never really sure if it's what I should do, but it seemed like the alternative was to find a place in the Bay Area, East Bay. It's a little cheaper than San Francisco, but still totally ridiculously almost New York City expensive, and like live with anonymous Craigslist roommates. And pay a lot of money, and I was not making a lot of money. Like, I don't know, like $600 for a tiny little room or something. I couldn't have afforded that then, or like ever. But anyway, so I was going on how, like, in September I'd visited Paul 2 times. At the beginning of the month and the end of the month. It was very romantic and like close, like we talked a lot, and I felt very assured that I was welcome there and stuff, and I felt confident to make that decision. And then as September and October went on, like my confidence wavered. So that was like, and I kept trying to talk myself into it. I was like, well, even if he like dumps me or just doesn't even want to be with me, like, it's, I still know that city somewhat, and I'll get a job, and he won't let me be homeless, right? He'll like wait till I get a job before I find a place. Anyway, that was like swirls of anxiety about Paul and Kevin. On and off pot, like his sanity was like, if he was off pot he would seem sane and sometimes warm, and like I would feel a little bit reeled in. And in the diary it's like, I like today he was just, he seemed so caring, and we hugged a lot, and it felt good to be in his arms, his big strong arms. And I could see the vulnerability in his eyes. And then it's like 2 days later, he was like mocking me, telling me I'm a loser, telling me everything, blaming all of his problems on me, that kind of thing. And it was really hazardous for my mental health. I was only on Wellbutrin at the time. When I say stuff like I screamed but it didn't last long, like that means I was holding it together pretty well. But I also remember jumping into the closet and scratching my arm until it bled a few times during that time. So this not screaming was good, but I think it was more like, I'm not gonna let you know that I'm still like this. Like, I'm a confident woman, and I'm gonna go to Portland, and I'm sane enough to do it. Anyway, but the Carol Ann thing. So I just read, is that in a nutshell? It's like she knew that he was sick in a way that I could not take care of. She had that understanding. It's like he's not willing to take his meds or go to therapy or admit he has any problems. He's not going to be a good husband, which he had not been. But we'd been together for quite a while. We'd lived in New York for quite a while. She got to know him. She liked him. She thought of him as like this gentle giant. He could be very funny. He loves to help people. So like working in caregiving is like a really good job for him. So she had a lot of reasons to care about him and to like him. So I guess it was a bit, a conflict for her. Like, oh, this is so sad. Like, he's going to be sad when you leave. And I don't think that's such a bad thing to admit or say. And back then, I was saying it myself. But she would say things like, if you go, what if he commits suicide? He's already tried it. A serious attempt. Why wouldn't he do it now? You're everything he's got. Could he handle the abandonment? That was a big thing that she said. Do you think it's right to jump from Kevin into Paul's arms? It seems rather abrupt. But then that would be juxtaposed with her saying sensible sounding things like, he doesn't sound safe to be around. Even if it doesn't work out with Paul, like you can stay with him as long as you need. So, thank God you have that. You've known Paul so long. He's a safe person. So she would say like the good things, but then it would be like monstrously like, and all those terrible things that she would say, which just were like stabbing me because I felt so much guilt. I mean, he was going through a lot of, I guess, mood swings through those couple of months basically from when he got out of the hospital, which was like August, and then September I decided I was leaving him. So it's August, September, October, November, like those months, like some major fluctuations with him. And he, Oh, I mean, he would enrage me, and I'd be like, "Thank fucking God, I'm out of here!" Like, I would be disgusted. I was like, just and he almost made it too easy to want to leave him. But then he'd switch gears within days and be really like he would be really afraid. He'd wake up from a nightmare and like want to hold me, and he would say in this like scared voice, like, "Are you really leaving me? Please don't leave me." And I don't think it was phony. Um, I I don't think it was phony, but he was never supportive. Like, I mean, how supportive can you be? But he would blatantly say he wanted me to fail, to not get a job, to be miserable with Paul. Um, and he would say stuff like that in this weird cold mood, like not ranting and raving. He'd be ranting and raving and telling me that I was like pathetic, like a bad wife, a bad housekeeper. Then he'd be like really cold and icy and be like, "You're not gonna be able to get a job. Who would hire you?" Like shit like that, or like Paul's gonna dump your ass when he sees what you've become, or things like that. But then that'd be that heartfelt. And when he was more calm and sad, I would detect this like vulnerability that was so deep. I just remember one time he was taking a bath. He was just sitting in the bathtub like a little boy, kind of like just. And I walked in, and I was like, God, he's beautiful. Like, I don't know, he was beautiful to me. I don't know if the whole world would think he's beautiful, but I walked in and he had tears streaming down his face. So my guilt and my confusion and my fear was off the charts. It was definitely like the hardest time of my life, like leaving a mentally ill husband. It was, and then getting to Portland, and Paul was weird, and he'd had a kind of a cheating, if you, I don't know if you call it cheating, but he had this bullshit fling with Michelle right before I got there. Like, so there was fallout, emotional fallout from that. And he kicked me out before I had a job. He was like, "You'll get a job." So I had to get like a roommate situation. I didn't have a job. I had some money. I had like $1,000. And I knew Paul could give me money if I needed it.